And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another short little podcast. Let me first tell you the sweetest, amazing fairy tale that I heard the other day. Man asked a woman to marry him. She said no, and he lived happily the rest of his life. I'm sorry. Ladies, I'll get the guys next time, okay? This podcast, I've done quite a few podcasts. A recent one, 10-minute podcast, the recent one hit over 200,000 views. So somebody's listening out there. I don't know who, not my wife. I do it, forget it, move on. But this podcast, I think, should be one of my very, very best as far as informative and helpful when to refinance a mortgage. When I did my 20-year radio show, Let's Talk Real Estate, 1 hour, I can honestly say thousands of people. We're talking about 20 years, okay? That's not many per year or per month. But thousands that I have helped reduce payments, several $100s, reduce terms, save $100,000 reducing a term. And I remember that lady one time called and had all the credit cards and everything, was trying to figure out should she get a second mortgage. And over the radio, as soon as I asked her what her interest rate was, got her refinance, exactly the same payment, and she got $50,000 or so cash out, pay off the credit cards. So there's no mystery to this. You don't have to be a mathematical genius. My whole point here is 50% of you listening do not know what your interest rate is right now on your mortgage. You have to know what your interest rate is. Make sure you know what your mortgage rate is right now. And then, I don't care if it's every 6 months, every 3 months, just kind of double check and see where current rates are. That's all you have to do. It's not, anything big, mystery or anything. There's 3 things you can do. You can reduce your payment, you can reduce your term, and you can take cash out. Not encouraging you to do this, but if you know what your rate is, and you see rates 1 to 2% below, then you do it. You check it and look at it. The first thing, the first quarter reduction in interest rate that you have, the first quarter is going to cover closing costs, because when you refinance, you have all the closing costs that you had typically the first time. There's always exceptions. But the first quarter, we're just going to throw that away to help cover the closing costs so you don't have to pay that in cash when you refinance. Now, general rule has always been 2%, that rates have to drop 2% to benefit. That's a good general ballpark rule. I can't tell you how many hundreds of people I've helped, though, with just a 1% reduction. It depends on what you want to do and what your goals are. But 2% has always been the general assumption. But 1% to 1.25%, 1.5% even, you can do something with. Now, a lot of you right now who bought your homes 2012 to 21, 2012 to 2021 rates were like 3 to 4%, okay? So if you bought your house then, don't hang up on me. But no, you're not going to be able to drop 3 to 4%. But a lot of you, I've helped people in the last month that had a cash problem and they refinanced and actually got a higher, 1%, 2% rate, but it beat 9% at the bank. But 1981 rates were like 17%. I think 2000 rates were like 8%. And, now ballpark somewhere around 6%. But some of y'all, last year or two, you hit maybe up to 7%. So you're not far from the 5.5 The rates slowly are going down here, but just pay attention to this, okay? So those are the three things you can do. Now, all right, number one, reducing your monthly payment. As I said, the first quarter goes to covering closing costs. After that, I'm going to ballpark. This is a huge ballpark, but I'm going to say after that, for every 0.25% reduction that you can get, you're going to drop about $50 a month in your mortgage payment. Now, that is so general because if you have a $150,000 loan, it's probably $25. If you have a $400,000 mortgage, then it's probably $65 to $70 reduction. So that scenario is $25 to $70. Let's just ballpark it in the middle at $50. And $50 would probably be a $250,000, $260,000 mortgage. And for every 0.25%, your payments drop about $50. Now, if rates dropped, let's just say 1.25%, a lot of people wouldn't look at that. Well, the first quarter going to closing costs, the other quarter, $50 a quarter, drops your payments to about $200 a month. Is $200 a month worth it? Probably not for most of you. But it's a trigger to tell you, hey, let's watch it and see if it goes down a little bit more. $200 for a 1.25% reduction. If you go to 2%, then what you're looking at, $350 reduction. So, look at that. If you're wanting to reduce your payment. Number two is reducing the term. This is my favorite. This is the one I love. Now, if you're strapped for cash and your job is not doing well or whatever, then yeah, dropping $200, $300, $400 a month, that means a lot to some people. But I like reducing the monthly payments. I'm going to guess 60, 70, 80% of everybody I've talked to, the thousands of people I've talked to over that 20-year period, I got them to reduce the term. You take a $250,000 mortgage, and let's say at 6.5% for 30 years. Let's say you bought a house and you borrowed $250,000, 6.5% for 30 years. Your principal and interest is going to be $1,580, I believe, around $1,580 a month. Your principal and interest plus your taxes and insurance. Okay, let's say it's been 5 years now. You did that 5 years ago. And let's say 5 years later, rates have dropped, let's just say to 5%, just 1.5%. You refinance that mortgage that you have 25 years left. You refinance it at 1.5% less for 20 years. You have the same exact monthly payment. Same monthly payment. No cash, everything is in the loan, and you've dropped 5 years. Calculate that out. 5 years, $1,580, it's $100,000. It's $100,000 if you add a few thousand for the reduced principal balance that you have after 5 years. $100,000, that's not worth it to you for 1.5%. I love reducing the term. And I've had so many people. We've gone down to a 15-year. We look at the 20-year, and they're dropping 7 years or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And I say, let's take one more look, because the 15-year mortgage, the rates are better. 10-year mortgage, they're better, but a 15-year mortgage, the rates are even better. So let's jump to 15 years, and you may have $100 more a month, okay? But would you be okay paying $100 more a month and dropping from 25 to 15 years, dropping 10 years, saving $200,000, and reducing the term also increases your principal reduction. That $1,580 at 6.5% does not reduce the principal balance as much as $1,580 at 5%. Your principal balance is reducing. Great. So I love reducing the term. So I'm going to say even at 1.25, at 1.25 reduction, start looking at it. The first quarter covers the closing cost, but the second 1%, you can drop some years, but just look at it. Not encouraging you to do it at 1.25, but look at it and be ready if it drops another quarter or two. Now, the third thing is the cash out. My least, to me, a cash out would be if you're in need, if you need to come up with money that you don't have, and your alternative is to go to the bank at 8-9%. Of course, it's going to be a shorter term, a whole lot more payment. Well, yeah, you could refinance. Now, refinance with cash out, typically you've got to own the house for 1+ years, and the standard practice with lenders is they will loan you 80% of your current appraised value, less your mortgage. If you have a $200,000 home, they're going to say we can loan you $160,000 less your first mortgage. If you owe $120,000 on your mortgage, then they can loan you $40,000 on it. So you can get cash out as an alternative to a payment reduction or reduction of your term if you need it for a certain purpose or something. But personally, I love the reduced term. What I hate is when people would call me, and that I quit doing that radio show a couple of years ago and started, just recently doing the podcast. But I still get hundreds of calls every month from around the country. I own a large real estate company, mortgage company, whatever. But I'm still here to help. I don't want the money out of any of this stuff. It's a blessing to be able to help people, but it hurts when somebody calls and says, I'm just kind of curious if I should think about refinancing or something. What's your rate right now? Well, it's 7%, or I got it back in 2000 at 8%. Oh my goodness. You missed those 10 years or so at 3 and 4%. You lost $200,000. That hurts. But let's go ahead and do it and get it fixed. So think about that. Number one, know what your mortgage rate is right now. Number two, from time to time, every 3 to 6 months, just check and see what the mortgage rate is. When it gets about 1.25, start looking at it. Start checking with a local lender and look at the numbers and see what it is. All right, I always do an extra. And as I've said, written hundreds of songs. Other people have recorded those. DBeasleymusic.com. And I don't think I can sing, but apparently I'm decent. My song's hitting 40,000 views or so. But I wrote a song 30, 40 years ago, a gospel song, Jesus Says It All. Now, I read all kinds of songs, okay? So you go to DBeasley, you're going to see everything. But I wrote a gospel song 30, 40 years ago, Jesus Says It All, for a gospel group in Shreveport. And they did it in a large revival, and it was amazing. People standing up. They sent me videos. It was amazing. It's been recorded twice by 2 other groups, and I haven't done it, but everybody tells me, the singers, the groups, the producers have all said it's too long. The chorus is too long, but I wrote it that way where it builds and everything. Finally, after 30, 40 years, I went in and re-recorded it and broke the chorus up. I wasn't going to put it out because it's a 1920 gospel, okay? Things have changed. It's hip-hop now. But I put this thing out like a week or 2 ago, and it is hitting 30,000 views now. Hundreds of comments on there. So go click on this. Jesus Says It All. 1920 gospel. See if you like it. God bless you. Wish you a great year.